What are you most passionate about in life? Have you ever considered from the day that you were born, what is it truly drives you throughout your entire existence during your lifetime? Is it just doing certain hobbies that you love? Maybe it's swimming, playing a particular sport. Maybe it's doing great community service. Maybe it's just co-creating, whether it's electronical engineering, building engineering, or maybe you are great creative and you love creating art, music, poetry, writing. What is it that truly drives you wild during your existence, during your lifetime? Well, we're gonna simply engage in a discussion focusing on what are you most passionate about in life. You see, passion has to do with what really rocks you into being you in your most, should I say, blissful frequency, that it's so innate to you that you do not even feel like you're in a process of co-creation, really. So for me, I remember growing up and, from the time I was an infant, I just gravitated to musical frequencies, that is. So I remember just, always getting into my state of just like, first of all, listening to music. And what music did to me is just put me in sort of like a frequency that really made me feel like I'm in a co-creative state. So at the time, I engaged in just singing, dancing, of course, and becoming in that most blissful state, of course. And I always knew that it was not just the end of just being a listener and engaging with music. It was almost like my higher self was letting me know what would drive me into a great passionate state during my lifetime. So let's fast forward to the year 2020 when I had my great awakening. And so I remember, upon getting into higher frequencies and higher states of consciousness, and of course connecting innately with my divine guidance, I remember it's almost like I had entered a frequency of what you will call the God state. And so what happened was that I entered this sort of state, as you would say, of enlightenment, not really knowing certain things about life, but my awareness beginning to open up. And so once I came down from this higher state of consciousness and being implanted back into the world, of course, what welcomed me was the nature spirits of the earth, the trees and the elementals. And what my drive was during this time was just effortlessly co-creating music. I would channel the lyrics, the frequencies of the music, and there co-create with the nature elements, the elemental, the air, water, fire, spirits, and just, mystically gravitate to the frequency and the beats of what music I should use to create beautiful melodies. You see, I now am aware that during a past life cycle that I enjoyed creating beautiful music, healing music frequencies, that is. And so I can tell you that this is one of my most passionate things. Not just connecting to musical frequencies and getting into that blissful state, but now recognizing that I am here too to co-create beautiful, blissful music that would in fact help to create a sense of healing on this planet. And of course, get you into that co-creative states where you just feel the most oneness with yourself and the divine. So you now take a second and reflect and ponder and think to yourself, what is it that really drives my wow during this life? What are you most passionate about at this point in your life? You see, now in this very transitional time in us birthing and co-creating new earth, we have to get in tune with what drives our wild, what brings out that divine essence within us that makes us the most passionate about life. Also, you recognize that wow. For me, I recognize that from a young age, I was just always gifted with, should I say, not necessarily helping per se, but being that safe place that many people would come to, adults alike, like children, to just maybe see life from a broader perspective. And in tune, what I was doing is posing them to go into that frequency of self-healing. So I remember growing up and many of my classmates actually telling me that, you always give me the greatest advice, on certain life situations, and maybe you should become a psychologist. And I thought about it for some time, and I said to myself, oh, that's not quite what I want to do. In fact, I actually went to university and studied humanities and justice studies as a bachelor degree, which is actually a degree that would go into, a prerequisite, should I say, a pre-law degree, because I wanted to in fact study law. But then life happened, and of course, because I recognize after that I have my awakening that it was much deeper than that. And so I say all of this to say that this was actually the start of me recognizing my true healing potentials. So upon awakening, of course, I delved deeply into my own self-healing through, just as I said before, my past lives recognition as a shaman, and being able to go within those dark places, even within myself, and co-create within the unseen worlds and do deep traumatic healing. So of course, currently I'm in the stage where I'm transitioning into just focusing my life on going deeply into becoming this great. You could put whatever label that you want on it, but I would per se call it just this divine energetic healer. And so I'm now in the process of just taking the necessary expanded conscious frequencies of healing that came not just from my past life, but in this current life cycle, the necessary teachings that I need to enhance this skill to, of course, delve deeper into my healing frequencies. So this is what truly drives me, because I knew that I had to become passionate of what my true soul's purpose and calling was during this lifetime. And if it was, of course, as I said, my first true love being music, musical healing, and of course tapping into my other innate gift of divine energetic healing. So you now sit back and think to yourself, what is it truly that drives your wild, and what are you most passionate about? So the other point that I wanted to focus on is that we now, myself included, have to realize that we are in fact legacy builders. So I had this first recognition when I fully awakened about 6 years ago in 2020 that, wow, I am in fact one of the many beings here who are now being awakened to actually birth and build a legacy on earth. Now, what does legacy building truly mean? It means that you have to now delve deep and take what you are most passionate about, whatever gifts and talents that you're innately drives you during your lifetime to become a channel of the divine. And so you now have to say, what is it that I'm gonna do, in fact, to build this legacy? What is it that I'm gonna focus on to say, like, hey, it's deeper than just actually doing this, maybe as even as you would say, as a hobby. It's more about using this sole purpose passion that you have to build a legacy, not just for the current generation, but the future generations to come. You see, we now have to take our focus off, not necessarily taking it off the past, but saying that we're here to restructure this planet Earth, to truly become the divine alchemist and recognize that each and every one of us, our soul's purpose can create a major difference on this planet. To see that we're going from a lack and scarcity mindset into knowing that we are becoming great initiates of what true abundance on this earth is all about. The expanded frequency, as you could say, Jupiter being in Leo right now, reflecting back to us the great energy of the sun that is full of this beautiful essence of divine energy, that we are truly this magnetic frequencies just continuously expanding into our states of greater consciousness to create the most beautiful, abundant life here on earth. And whether you're using your passion to say, I really love this and I really, really wanna use this as my life story, to say that not just that I made a difference, but to say that the impact in sharing this great passion of yours, what one little determining step that you take right now could actually help change the dynamics here on earth. So each of us are coming collectively to co-create the most beautiful, expanded, mesmerizing, magnetic, divine space here on earth, where Our soul is truly leading us each day into a passionate state of existence that drives, as I would say, drives your wild, drives my wild, into co-creating a mystical experience here on earth, becoming soul-led and so much like the divine that we enjoy co-creating our life story here on earth. And so as we recognize that our past selves, past lifetimes, past memories and inner child experiences are now merging with us in the present and calling in our future selves to see, wow, this is the most beautiful dynamic story that I'm here to actually co-create, to birth, to build, to just step by step put in the baseline structure of what 5D dimensional consciousness state of existence could really be all about here on earth. Your story is just as important as my story. So let's refocus our very states of existence into one that we recognize the passionate frequencies that we on a day-to-day basis experience, the most minutest things that drives us wild, makes us get into the most beautiful higher states and higher frequencies, could be the very determining factor of jumping into a new timeline, a higher state of consciousness, to co-create the most beautiful story here on earth, not just for our current generation, but for our future collective generations. So take a moment, focus, align yourself to what you're most passionate about. Delve deeper and note to yourself, I did not just get this beautiful gift just to stay at home and enjoy it with myself, but to share it with the world and help become a part of this legacy building that we're currently evolving into here on earth. One that truly represents a new earth that is focused on abundance. First of all, abundance in all financial frequencies of whether it is money, assets, crypto, Bitcoin, whatever it is. Secondly, I would say health, which as we have to continue to note that's why so many of us are being called into the healing arts, to heal ourselves first, but to help focus on rebuilding a system where true healing exists, the holistic version of healing, the one that is more connected with nature, the one that is more connected with source and co-creating with your inner spirit that represents your true essence of the divine. Also, the one that taps into higher states of consciousness, not necessarily looking for a religious organization to allow you to recognize the God code or the God frequency, but recognizing that this God code, the divine essence, lives within you. That's why so many religious texts usually say that we are made in its image and likeness, meaning that we are simply divine beings, just like God, representing the trifecta effect of light, spirit, body, masculine, feminine, inner child, going into those parts of ourselves and fully recognizing this unconditional love presence that resides within each and every one of us. So there you go. Tap fully into your most passionate state of existence and let's help co-create the most beautiful story here on earth.